Right, so thank you for having me here tonight. I know this is a rescheduled talk, thanks to the snow. So I'm here to talk to you and introduce you to graph databases. How many of you use graph databases? One of them had to play with Neo4j. Okay, cool. Anybody else had to play?
I play with Neo4j.
You had to play with Neo4j as well? Cool.
It's used in one of their farming modules as well.
All right, awesome. Well, this is an introductory talk to graph databases and for Neo4j. There's some slides about me, but Matt's bigged me up so much on bloody Twitter, I don't think I need to say anything about me. Other than say, I work for Ganbaro Digital. Please follow us on Twitter. You can't go to the website, there isn't one yet, I haven't written one. I haven't needed to. It's just 3 years I've been 3 years I've been in business now, and still getting work without having a website. It's awesome. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you're very welcome to, but be warned, I'm passionate about my hobbies, I'm passionate about my causes, and I tweet about them a lot. So if you only want tech, follow the company handle instead. Would you say that was fair, Matt? Okay. Right, so to set the scene, I want to explain where I'm coming from with this talk, because it is going to be a little bit different to what you might be expecting. So I want to tell you a story. So, I can't get my teeth in tonight, I tell you. I'm going to share a story with you. Last year, I was invited to a pre-sales meeting down in Canary Wharf. I was there as a subcontractor bidding for a project. I was there, someone from the primary contractor was there, and the rest of the room was filled with people from a financial institute down there. We were bidding for work from them. And there was a technical architect there, but everyone else who was there was a business analyst of one kind or another, including the people conference called in. And what normally happens with these pre-sales meetings, if any of you have ever attended any, is normally the prospective client sits down and starts to teach you about their business to help show you why they're inviting you in to bid. They didn't use a blackboard, they had a well-prepared presentation, modern high-tech screens, the full works, but I couldn't find a nice photo like that. So what they did, they were a financial company, so they described their business in terms of financial instruments, and they started explaining what these different financial instruments were, how they're all connected to each other, how they're dragging things from the outside world, and because they're dealing with real things, not virtual things, that some of this stuff is messy in reality. It's not nice, clean stuff. And because they're a successful firm, which is why they're in Canary Wharf, these things are split around different divisions in their business. Now, this meeting went on for a good hour or so, and they clearly knew their stuff. They were well prepared, they were able to answer all of our questions. They knew their business, they knew why it worked. And after they'd done all that, they turned to Dave and myself, the two people who were coming in to bid, and they said something that's stuck with me ever since. The reason we were there is they didn't know how to model this in a database. They spent an hour explaining their business in detail. These guys knew their stuff. There was no ambiguity. There was no, we don't know, we'll have to get back to you. They knew stuff right down to quite significant detail. And I'm going to say, this was a light bulb moment for both me and Dave. We looked at each other because we went, that is their model. The thing they've just drawn up on the screen is their model. And it got me thinking. I've been doing this nearly 25 years as a commercial developer. And so much of my time has gone on creating or working with what other people have created, database models, and then making code to translate that to business models and back again. There's never a one-to-one relationship. There's never a direct alignment on that. And that really got me thinking, because why? Why do we do this? What if we could have the same model everywhere? The exact same model. I mean, the same entities, same names, same terms for how they're all interconnected to each other. Exactly the same everywhere. And I don't mean using an ORM or something else equally slow to pretend that it's the same. I mean using the exact same thing at scale. Because normally scale is when you start to compromise your database design. I don't have a deep voice, I can't pull this one off, but whatever. What if I told you we can? Or I told you we could do this? Because we can. And we can do that using graph databases. Graph databases are perfect for this. if you think of the promise of BDD, forget the reality, think of the promise of it. The idea that the business and the developers use the exact same language to describe how something's supposed to work. And then we've got all these BDD tools that try to animate that spec to a greater or lesser degree of success. Graph databases can do that only without all these tools that don't actually work in reality. So I'm telling you this story because this isn't going to be your typical graph database talk. I'm not here to talk about graph algorithms or using things in a graphy way whatsoever. And part of that is because I don't need to. This is a topic that is well covered already. There's lots of stuff out there. I mentioned Neo4j, and they're going to feature a lot tonight in this talk. On their website, they maintain a library, and it's constantly growing, of detailed use cases where they show you how to load datasets into Neo4j and mine it for interesting things to find out what's in there. One example is about the Panama Papers, but they've got loads of those. They run regular online webinars, which are free. Free as in give us all your details, I believe. Where you can go and see their people walk you through some of this stuff as well. And I believe they run them pretty much every week these days. In our own community, how many of you met Chris Holt? Quite a few of you. So Chris has actually been touring a talk on graphs, and he gave it here. Awesome. I don't need to tell you to watch the video then. But if you didn't see the talk here, it was videoed at PHP Southwest. I'm biased, I think that's the best user group of all, but I'm biased because it's my local one. So you can go watch that, and again, as you have seen, he was explaining things in a graphy way. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I'm going to talk about running a real business using a graph database as the primary database instead. So not loading it for data analysis, using it to run a real business. And there will be some PHP in this at the very end. Not a lot of PHP, you actually don't need a lot in order to use Neo4j. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sharing my experience. I'm going to be talking about what I've actually done and the decisions and the experience I've got from that guided me towards that. I'm not here to tell you that this is the definitive way to do any of this, not for a moment. There are going to be other approaches out there that are equally valid and probably even more valid than what I'm sharing with you. So anyone who has played with any of this stuff and can feedback, that's awesome, because I can learn from you as well. If anyone's ever seen me talk, you'll know they're quite interactive, quite two-way. I'm not very good as a lecturer. They normally turn into discussions. So please do shout out questions as we go, and don't worry if they seem like a tangent or anything, we'll make sure they all get answered. So I'm going to cover three things. I'm going to very quickly explain the business where I've been using this graph database, and then I'm going to use that business to show you some queries, some real-life queries that are in production today, written in Neo4j, in its query language CYPHER. So in order to teach you how to use this stuff. And then finally, we'll look at how we get at this from PHP. Does that sound all right?
That's pretty good. Awesome. It's good.
Thank you.